For years, much of the evidence gathered by investigators, interviews, emails, logs, and more, was sealed under court orders. Victims argued this secrecy protected powerful people and blocked justice.
Official Department of Justice records confirm the existence of tunnels beneath Little St. James. 2 separate underground passages have now been identified, one accessible from underwater and another captured on video deep below the surface. The emails reveal torture, murder, intelligence operations, and an obsessive culture of secrecy. Within less than 2 years, construction machinery could wipe all of it away. What else lies down there that we have not yet seen? For years, the internet could not stop fixating on the blue and white striped buildings sitting above the cliffs of Little St. James. Online communities erupted with theories. Was it a temple, a music room, or something far darker? Drone footage accumulated millions of views, with every single frame picked apart for hidden symbols, secret entrances, or a forbidden glimpse inside. Social media threads traced every tile, every shadow, certain that the truth was concealed in plain sight. Even major news outlets joined the search, running photo spreads and opinion pieces about the island's strange architecture and its enigmatic owner. But while attention stayed locked on the surface, the real story was quietly sinking beneath it. While the entire world obsessed over the colors of a rooftop dome, nobody was asking questions about what existed underground. Nobody was demanding blueprints, building permits, or evidence of what was being constructed out of view. The obsession with the temple became a distraction, leaving a gap just wide enough for secrets to pass through unnoticed. Only now, with the release of enormous volumes of official documents and video evidence, does the investigation begin pulling back the layers below, where the most disturbing answers have been hiding all along. The Department of Justice archive is a maze. Over 3 million pages, 180,000 images, and 2,000 videos, most of it buried under thick black redaction marks. The sheer volume is overwhelming, but what matters is what hides inside. Among the files, more than 550 pages are dedicated to just one subject: the island's underground. The names of contractors and engineers have been erased, but the trail remains for anyone determined enough to follow it. In August 2009, an internal DOJ email with file ID YMG 00004512 slipped through unnoticed. It reads, "I want the floor done in the wood tunnel with equipment moved out." The message is brief, almost casual. But it marks the first time a government document openly acknowledges a corridor running beneath Little St. James. Attached to the same file is a photograph, a heavy trapdoor set into the concrete floor of a maintenance building, its hinges thick with dust. The caption is direct: access point, main tunnel. No explanation, no added context, just a single image stripped of everything except its meaning. The archive does not answer every question, but it is no longer possible to claim the tunnels are just a legend. The evidence chain begins right here with a redacted memo and a photograph that should not exist, sitting quietly and waiting for someone to notice. 3 years after that first mention of a trapdoor, the paper trail grows much thicker. Buried inside the DOJ archive is a series of emails, at each one more revealing than the one before it. The owner's voice runs through every message, sharp and demanding. He writes, "I want the floor done in the wood tunnel. All the equipment moved out." The date is August 2009. There is no room for interpretation. The tunnel is not a rumor. It is an active work site with tasks to complete and a timeline to meet. Months later, another message surfaces: tunnel floor completed. No celebration, just a progress update. As if laying hardwood flooring beneath a Caribbean island is completely ordinary, the instructions keep coming. Move laundry. Additional staff. Tunnel move. Each line a directive. Each directive a thread connecting the island's daily operations to something happening below ground. No blueprints are attached. No photographs accompany these exchanges. Just a steady rhythm of commands and confirmations. The owner is not removed from the details. He is managing every step, watching every move, making sure the tunnel stays on schedule. The emails do not explain why. They only make the demand for a visual accounting far more urgent. File name LJRV01.MPP4, prefix 9F3 1C9E2. It means nothing until someone checks the chain of custody. The drive, sealed and signed by Special Agent Kelly Rogers, moves from a Marine Tech Solutions ROV pilot directly into the DOJ evidence vault. No gaps, no unexplained alterations. Forensic auditors at Kroll Forensics run the verification. Every byte matches. Every time stamp aligns, the footage is authentic. On screen, the ROV camera pushes through dark blue water. At azimuth 265 degrees, the bearing aligns with the western bluff. Just beneath the so-called temple, all concrete ribs appear, evenly spaced, forming the unmistakable shape of a tunnel. There is a gradual slope, water pressing against smooth epoxy walls, and at the far end, a metallic hatch sealed shut against the sea. GPS coordinates embedded in the video match Little St. James down to the decimal point. The tunnel is no longer a theory. It is there, mapped by machine, confirmed by the data, and secured inside the DOJ vault. The first corridor is beyond dispute, but the story does not end with a single passage. The evidence is about to expand significantly. At timestamp 05743 in the Department of Justice Video Archive, a second corridor cuts through the darkness. This time it is not empty. And a lone figure stands inside the passage, back turned to the camera, and a New York City Department of Environmental Protection logo clearly visible on the shirt. It is a strange detail completely out of place on a Caribbean island, but the insignia is distinct enough to pause on. The video file carries a Department of Justice archive code logged and timestamped, leaving a paper trail that cannot be ignored. This is not a continuation of the first tunnel. The walls are poured concrete. Pipes run along the ceiling, and the faint sound of machinery hums somewhere beyond the frame. The figure stops at a branching junction, glancing toward a heavy steel door built into the wall. The institutional character of the space is impossible to miss. This is not a simple maintenance crawl space. Even the presence of municipal markings raises entirely new questions. Who brought a Department of Environmental Protection engineer to this island, and under what authority? The corridor's length and construction match nothing found in the released building plans, and the video's existence confirms that at least one official investigation documented more than one tunnel. Within seconds, the scale of the underground network doubles, and with it, the unanswered questions grow. Buried inside the DOJ document release, the language suddenly becomes brutal. Contempt warnings and legal qualifiers surround every reference, but the words themselves are plain and unfiltered. One email stripped of both sender and recipient reads, "No one will lie to me and get away with it. No one. I give you permission to kill him." The file carries an evidence stamp, and its surrounding context blacked out by redaction, all but the intent is unmistakable. In another exchange, a question arrives with the weight of a threat. "Did you torture her?" The response is disturbingly casual. "I love the torture video. These are not rumors circulating online. They are text preserved inside the archive, sourced directly to DOJ evidence logs." A third exchange, brief and blunt, reads, "What do you want me to do to her? Torture her?" These words sit alongside logistics updates and maintenance requests, as if violence is simply another task on the daily list. The archive does not identify who is speaking, to whom, or for what purpose. But the presence of these lines inside official government files raises the stakes in a way that cannot be set aside. Tunnels are no longer just a question of hidden passages or concealed doorways. They are corridors running parallel to threats, to suffering, to the possibility of murder. All of it documented in language that demands real answers. The language inside the Department of Justice archive shifts again, this time settling into the clipped and coded phrasing of intelligence work. One line buried inside a thread about security protocols reads, "You should make it clear that I don't work for MSAD," followed by a winky face. The joke falls flat, but the denial is now preserved on record. Elsewhere, the tone hardens. "Our asset has been compromised." These are not the words of ordinary criminals nervous about police attention. They are the phrases of people accustomed to operating in the shadows, where being exposed carries consequences far beyond embarrassment. Another document refers to our spy being captured after completing her mission, and the surrounding context is redacted, but the vocabulary leaves no room for misinterpretation. What is happening underground is not only violence, it is secrecy operating at the level of statecraft. The files do not reveal who wrote these lines or on whose behalf, but the language is deliberate and precise. the tunnels begin to look less like hiding places and more like infrastructure purpose-built for intelligence-grade concealment. And the pattern does not stop at a single property. Patterns begin emerging when documents from Little St. James are placed alongside permit filings from Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, Permit ZR09B, submitted in 2015. It calls for a subcellar elevator and underground chambers, language that closely echoes the bunker references buried inside the Virgin Islands Foundation charters. Both properties list shell companies as contractors, their real identities scrubbed from public records, but the technical language repeats itself. Reinforced concrete, marine-grade ceiling, secure access points. Even the phrase lifeboat bunker appears inside a Zorro Ranch planning memo, suggesting a shared and deliberate approach. The similarities point to more than coincidence. Across two distant properties, the same blueprint for secrecy takes shape with tunnels, concealed elevators, and contracts written specifically to keep the true purpose out of public view. The blue and white structure is not just an architectural curiosity, it is a cipher. Permit records describe it as a music pavilion, yet the building rises in an octagonal form rather than a rectangular one. Each of its 8 sides mapped with precise geometric intention. When the island's layout is overlaid with the temple's axis, the lines converge directly on the known tunnel access points, one beneath the bluff and another near the maintenance building. The orientation is not accidental. Each angle mirrors an entry vector as though the surface design is a cover concealing the routes running below. The symmetry is too exact to dismiss. Every line, every shadow leads somewhere deeper. Today, Little St. James faces redevelopment, and with it comes the very real risk that every tunnel, every encrypted file, every remaining trace disappears permanently. The records are incomplete, and the system that created them remains untouched. What sinks beneath the surface now may never come back up. What are we prepared to forget?